There's a moment you've experienced before. You just didn't recognize it. Someone is speaking to you. Calm, confident, certain. Every word sounds right. Everything fits together. It feels smooth, too smooth. And yet, there's something underneath it. Something you can't explain. A small hesitation, a slight shift in tone, a pause that lingers just a second too long. You ignore it because nothing they said was technically wrong. So you trust them, you move forward, you commit, and later, you realize the mistake, not because they lied, but because you missed something, something subtle, something quiet, something that had nothing to do with their words. Now here's the question most people never ask. What if the truth was never in what they said, but in how they reacted? Part 1. The world that trained you wrong. You were trained to listen from childhood. Listen to authority. Listen to instructions. Listen to explanations. Listening became a virtue. You were rewarded for it. But observation? That was never emphasized. You weren't taught to read silence. You weren't taught to notice discomfort. You weren't taught to question confidence. You were taught to process information through words. And that creates a problem because the real world is not built on truth. It's built on communication. And communication is not the same thing as truth. Communication is filtered, edited, packaged, designed. And once you understand that, you realize something uncomfortable. Words are not meant to reveal. They are meant to influence. Part 2. Why words are cheap. Words cost nothing. And anyone can say anything. I've done this before. You can trust me. This is a safe opportunity. No proof required, no structure needed, just delivery. And if the delivery is good, you believe it. That's how most decisions are made, not through verification, but through persuasion. Now let me ask you directly, why does your CPA never warn you about this? Because they're not paid to. They deal with outcomes, not behavior. They fix mistakes after they happen. They don't prevent them. But wealthy families, they don't wait for mistakes. They study behavior before decisions are made because they understand something most people ignore. The problem is rarely the numbers. It's the person behind them. Part 3. The illusion of confidence. Confidence is powerful. It commands attention. It creates trust. It makes things feel certain. But here's the truth. Confidence is easy to fake. It can be rehearsed, practiced, performed. You've seen it before. Someone speaks without hesitation. No pauses, no doubt, no uncertainty. They sound like they know exactly what they're doing. And your brain immediately translates that into, they must be right. But confidence is not evidence. It's presentation. And presentation is designed to control perception. Wealthy families don't fall for this. They've seen it too many times. They know that the most confident person in the room is not always the most competent. Part 4. How you get pulled in without realizing manipulation doesn't feel like manipulation. That's why it works. It feels like alignment, agreement, comfort. Someone tells you exactly what you want to hear. Why they confirm your expectations. They remove your doubts. And in that moment, you relax. Your guard drops because everything feels right. But what you don't see is this. They are controlling your focus. They are directing your attention toward words and away from behavior. As long as you're listening, you're not observing. And if you're not observing, you're missing the truth. Part 5. The moment that changes everything. There is a moment in every interaction where truth starts to appear. Not loudly, not clearly, but subtly. It happens when pressure enters the conversation. Ask a direct question, challenge a statement, introduce uncertainty. Now watch, not what they say, but how they react. Do they pause? Do they shift? Do they avoid? Do they over-explain? That moment is more valuable than everything they said before it. But most people miss it because they're still focused on the words. Part 6. Why the most powerful people talk less. Have you ever noticed this? In high-level environments, the most powerful person in the room is rarely the loudest. They don't rush to speak. They don't interrupt. They don't try to dominate the conversation. They wait. They observe. They let others talk. Why? Because the more someone speaks, the more they reveal, not through what they say, but through how they say it. Tone, timing, energy, consistency, all of it becomes visible if you're paying attention. Part 7. The skill you were never taught. Observation is a skill, but unlike speaking, it's not taught. Because it's quiet, it doesn't feel active. It doesn't look impressive, but it is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. When you observe properly, you start noticing patterns. Patterns in behavior, patterns in reactions, patterns in inconsistency. You begin to see when someone is unsure, when someone is hiding something, when someone is overcompensating. And once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. Part 8. The shift. Here's the rule. The one wealthy families quietly teach. The one that changes everything. Watch reactions, ignore words. Because words are controlled. Reactions are not. Words are planned. Reactions are instinctive. And instinct reveals truth. Part 9. What reactions actually show you? Reactions are data, real data. They expose things words cannot. Pressure reveals confidence, preparation, intentions, limits. And when someone is comfortable, they can maintain a narrative. But when pressure is applied, the narrative cracks. And what comes through is real. Watch for it. Part 10. How this applies to money. Every financial decision involves people. Not just numbers, people. And people are unpredictable unless you know how to read them. If you rely on words, you're relying on something designed to influence you. If you rely on reactions, you're working with something real. That difference determines everything. The deals you enter, the partners you choose, the risks you take. Part 11. The advantage you don't see when you shift from listening to observing. You gain an unfair advantage. You see problems earlier. You avoid bad decisions faster. You stop being easily convinced because you're no longer reacting to words. You're analyzing behavior, and behavior is harder to fake. Part 12. How they train this early. Wealthy children are not told this directly. They are exposed to it. They watch negotiations. They observe conversations. They see how people behave under pressure. And over time, they learn to read reactions, not consciously, but instinctively. That's why they seem sharp. It's not talent. It's training. Part 13. The power of silence. Silence is a tool. When you stop talking, people fill the space. And in that space, they reveal themselves. They talk more. They explain more. They expose more. This is why powerful people use silence. Not because they have nothing to say, but because they want to see more. Part 14. How to apply this immediately from today. Change your approach. In every interaction, don't focus on what's being said. Focus on what's being shown. Watch timing, reactions, consistency. Pause before responding. Let the moment unfold, because truth takes time to reveal itself. Part 15. The final realization. Words are crafted, reactions are exposed, and if you build your decisions on words, you're building on something unstable. But if you build them on behavior, you're working with reality. Gershwin. So the next time someone speaks with confidence, don't be impressed. Don't be convinced. Just watch. Because the wealthy already understand something most people never learn. People tell you what you want to hear, but they reveal who they are in how they react. And once you understand that, you stop being easy to influence and start becoming very hard to deceive.